And the reason I'm using this is so that I can do a narration over everything else that's going on, and so that the video can pick me up. So it's kind of weird, but here it is. So the reason we've invited you here today is, for our own selfish reasons, is to give the ensemble the experience of performing in front of people. Because eventually what our goal is in this course is to develop an ensemble of musicians and dancers, and lighting designer Jennifer Ponder, who's right there in the middle of things with you, who can put together, can create performance without premeditating anything for at least an hour early in May. So our concerts are May 3rd and 4th, dress rehearsal on the 2nd. And so we're training the whole semester to be able to make that happen. And I think those of you who've been here for a while today have already noticed that from a sort of amorphous bunch of individuals, form is beginning to emerge in the ensemble. So they're doing what we call the warm-up score. And every day, supposedly class starts at 2:50, but as people kind of come in from the other parts of their lives, they get 3 minutes to themselves in what we call arriving. And they just bring themselves from the outer world into the space, shift into their own realities, their own beings, full into their bodies, and then begin to work their way to a deep connection with themselves. They start on their own sort of investigations, research into movement. Musicians are doing the same thing. They wake themselves up in the space. They find themselves in the space. They also find themselves in relation to each other. And they begin looking for emerging form. And for sometimes there may be multiple events going on, sometimes they're all equal in sort of specific gravity. Sometimes a primary event emerges with secondary events, even choruses. These are the kinds of things that we call attention to in the dancer world. Musicians actually have slightly different language, but we have enormous amounts of common ground in terms of what we're doing. The goal for the work, each one of the artists is equal in this work. Each individual artist is autonomous. No one is expected to, quote unquote, give up anything. We really welcome the individuality, the uniqueness, the aesthetic approach of each artist. And we're also building an ensemble that's fully collaborative. And so there's an enormous amount of deep listening that we're cultivating in this work as well. And the listening happens through the eyes, through the ears, through touch, through presence, proximity, and distance. And one of the things that happened for us just this week, on Monday, the ensemble locked in. It's quite a practice to be able to have enough experience to take risks, to fail gloriously, to succeed gloriously, and come to a place where you can both be deeply grounded in your own work and send your awareness out into the whole, and then really work from an awareness of the whole as close to 100% of the time as you can. So you can see that all of their vocabularies are different as the sounds of the musicians are different. they're also, they may be sharing something. They learn from each other by sharing material, by doing what we call the Campbell follow the leader, by working in unison, by working with musicians. We'll see what they do, shall we? Warm-up score. Nice. They all stayed on. Didn't have to. I think they're kind of liking this. Are you kind of liking this? Stay out here for a minute. I want you to introduce yourselves. I'll go over here first. We are all equal. We are not musicians and dancers, but we are musicians and dancers. But we're all equal. So will you say who you are?
I'm Arthur Brooks.
I'm Jaime Waldman.
Ross.
Deborah Feldman.
And we have two other members of the ensemble who kind of go a little bit. And who are you?
I'm Jessica Lee.
Hi, I'm Meredith.
Doug LaCour.
I'm Saray. I'm Juliana.
Cameron.
I'm Amy.
Rachel.
I'm Hi.
Adeline.
Crystal Brown. This is Crystal Brown. She's on the faculty too. She's, what are you doing? You're shadowing.
I'm shadowing this course for historical relevance upon the imminent retire of our guru.
I am shadowing this course for archival purposes upon the imminent soon, in the fall of 13, to retire Penny Camp.
Oh, that's right. At the end of the fall semester. Thank you. So this is a very particular lineage of improvisation, actually. It originated back in the late 60s at Bennington College. Two artists came to join the faculty. Actually, they came 67, I think. And Judith Dunn and Bill Dixon. Bill was a musician, a painter, a writer, a sort of a brilliant guy. And he and Judith had been in Merce Cunningham's company and then became part of that seminal movement on the East Coast, the Judson Dance Theater, that sort of resulted in a shift into postmodernism on the East Coast. Other things were going on the West Coast, and probably other things were going on elsewhere as well. But they got together, and Bill talked Judy into working less setting her work and more working in the tradition of black music of improvisation. And so I was there when that started to happen. A few other people were there. Arthur Brooks eventually came up from Boston to study with Bill, so I always call him my artistic sibling, because we've been doing this for 1,000 years. And as I say, there is a particularity to what we're doing. It's a kind of a culture that we established. And then when I met Michael, and he was playing for classes back in the early 80s, and he had his guitar, and what did I say? Do you play anything else? And he told me it was a saxophone, and I thought, oh yeah, bring that baby in. And he did, and that was fabulous, because when Bill had an ensemble at Bennington, there were usually 3 trumpets, several saxophones, 2 or 3 drum sets, I mean, and vocalists, keyboards, you name it, and they would all play at once sometimes. So I was accustomed to a wall of sound and trying to deal with dancing with that, and it's pretty fabulous. So when I heard that there was brass around, I thought, well, let's do that. So then we've been working for a long, long time on this, and we work professionally together, Arthur and others, music and dance, hey. And so we integrated it into the curriculum of the dance program at Middlebury, and here we are. I just wanted to read a quote. Because increasingly over the past year or so, I found myself more and more involved with the folks at the Center for Social Entrepreneurship, and being a pretty politically left kind of girl felt so weird to me. But as the more of the literature about innovation that I read that's connected with entrepreneurship, the more I see that they're referring to what we've been doing all these years, and that's, among other things, improvisation. So this is a quote from Politico magazine, an editorial called "The Link Between Art and Innovation" by Chris Gallagher, who's the founder and current CEO of Musician Corps and formerly of the White House Office of National Service under Bill Clinton. And he said, he was talking about someone else. Oh, anyway. So this guy that he's referring to is a Stanford professor in their business school, I think. So this Stanford professor said, the practice of entrepreneurship is better aligned with an arts curriculum than a traditional business school curriculum. That's a serious statement from a serial entrepreneur. In addition to creativity, entrepreneurship requires imagination, collaboration, risk-taking, and resilience. These skills taught through artistic practice are the core drivers of innovation. And I thought, okay, so there's that. So I wanted to kind of make that connection. Now what you're watching is a group of people who are intermediate advanced dancers. So, but this practice is applicable to anyone in any field, at any level, in or out of a wheelchair. So, and you know, there's plenty of that going on. Oops. So there, that's said. So our class, how do you feel to dance in front of people? Good? Good. Okay. You were able to maintain your concentration. That was really beautiful. So concentration is one of the things we develop. How can you integrate your thinking so that your body is, you're thinking with your body, you're thinking on the hoof, and you're thinking compositionally, but it's integrated. It's not, oh, I think I'm gonna do that. It's much more, yep. So, and then much more complex, Okay, so our class starts out with the warm-up score, and the idea is to warm self up, be always investigating something, stamina, detail, movement initiation from different parts of the body, recognizing what your habits are, and sort of kind of changing them. Oh, we have a ban on this today. If you see someone stick an arm up here, get your spitballs out, do something, bark at them, never. Okay, so because that's a rut. We do the same thing with forms so that we're a little duet happy. Duets are easy, they're comfortable, you're not alone. So we're paying attention to that. We have an ensemble of 11 dancers, up to 7 musicians. So the idea of really working with our range is important. So usually what we do the warm-up score and find an end. A piece emerges, hopefully. Yeah, it does now. And then finding the end of a thing is not easy. But now the musicians are in it too, so sometimes the cue is from the sound. Sometimes the cue is from the dancers. Sometimes the cue, now that we have Jen Ponder working with us, also improvising, she'll just say, okay, blackout, you're done, it's over. And that, that's the safe way, but it's what we're doing. The second part of the class usually is an investigation of some elements. And so I thought I was going to do one thing, but of course I'm going to do another. And third is that I forgot what it was. Okay, here's what I just want you to do a little work with proximity and distance, density of bodies, where you are in the space. Is that enough? Okay, so what would you do about that? Say, okay, probably the same thing. Okay, and yeah, let's let it be a piece. I was gonna say that was a nice short piece. A nice clean ending. I've been wrong. We're working on short. It was lovely, don't you think? Nice. Sorry, Ron, that was you, wasn't it? What? Okay. An amplified snort, that's something. So here's the deal. That's kind of how we train. We use scores, or we use pay attention to. They're now at the point where they kind of want to make dances all the time, which is great. I mean, that's where we're going. And that was nice. That was the 9. That was a no net. So that's good. What was our last class? Wednesday? When our pieces were a little spare. They were a little duetty, trio-y, which we need, but we're better at that than we are at something like this. So we have to be able to do everything. And one of the things we're doing in the ensemble is building trust that everyone is paying attention, knows where things begin so that they can develop them, and not knowing necessarily where the thing's going, but also have a sense, if we're doing a series of things, that we're not doing the same form over and over again. What did we do one time? One time we did, it was Wednesday, every piece started with a duet. No, it's boring. Okay. So that was nice. So the other thing though, so we're trying to raise awareness of possibilities, things we know, things we've seen, and then eventually, and we're sort of building a kind of common understanding about that, and then eventually what we're going to be and all the time, honestly, we're looking for the stuff that's unfamiliar. Because one of the tenets of this work is it's not static. What we're doing is each individual is always reaching out, pushing the envelope, trying to expand what we can do. And we know that things come around and go around, so that you might be getting really good at these detailed little tiny articulations, but you have no stamina anymore, you know? So at a certain point, you want to focus on your stamina and be detailed and, you know, all these other things. I'm also sort of inviting you to become each other. I mean, take on each other's habits so as they're different from your own. Okay, so the next thing I want to try is, it's kind of an accumulation. It's practicing charges. And a charge is just what you think it is. It's like of the light brigade. But, so your charge, let's say that no charge can have less than 3 people in it. There can be many groups trying to build their charge and charging at any time. Everyone's involved, but it can be an accumulation of finding your regiment. The thing is, charges are not only, but a charge is direct. A charge builds from within some work, and then it travels somewhere very directly, and then it may regroup and charge somewhere else, and it may be at any speed and any intensity. We work with continua a lot, like from 0 to 10. How fast do you tend to move? 0 obviously is not moving. They don't do that much. But do you build stillnesses into your work? And then on the other top is that you're moving. What's your top speed? Okay, that's a 10. Now make it more. Make it 11. We do that with intensity, energy. We do it with whatever we can think of. So a charge on the continuum of could be on the intensity or the speed size, that's another one, shape, could be anywhere. It could be a slow motion charge, it could be more. Okay, that's enough information, right? So an accumulation begins this. You find your regiment, and there might be only one, and then the key is you have to figure out how to build a charge. So they go into a practice like this with a question, and then they'll say, but Pen, if, would a charge be la 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 la? And there's a point at which I won't answer any more questions. It's like you go in to find out, and you go in taking a risk to really blow it. So, but if you're gonna blow it big. Okay, and this, yeah, let's see if this can become a piece, but don't get all worked up about it. Would you say that on a scale of 0 to 10, the intensity of the charges were about a 5? Do you think we got more than that? I don't know. But that's okay, we can do more charge practice. And what that does is it wakes up that possibility. But it was a shaken piece. So, you know, okay, so I don't care whether I said everybody has to be in this and there can't be a charge of less than 3. But I've never seen them do a string of 5. I mean, that was beautiful shape, that was beautiful form. You'll see it someday. So it's all about dancing. It's not about obeying rules. And I should also accept if I say so. And all that is, that's technique practice in this work. In a ballet class, you know, that's the form. That is not the form. Something like that is the form. So you try and meet that form, and that's the technique practice. But it's hopefully the service of dancing and musicking. So at this level especially, I mean, we have a few more weeks to get some more stuff working, but at this point, I really don't care about them obeying the rules if I get to see gorgeous work, so I'm good. Okay, you have any questions? Anybody want to ask anybody anything? Say anything?
I'm wondering what kind of grants the artist permission to come in and what makes a decision to join versus stay on the side.
Okay, so it's the choice, why do you come in, why do you not come in? And that was a nice one. What grants the artist permission to come in or stay on the sideline? That's how you put it.
Well, one of the things for me that keeps on coming up is that you're always in, even if you're on the sides. Once the piece starts or once, there's that moment of silence, even if you're standing on the sidelines, you're there like holding this space for whatever's going on and you're ready at a moment's notice to come in. So that permission is always there, regardless of whether you're on the sides or not. And you're always sort of expected to be able to notice when the ensemble needs you or doesn't need you and to leave. Yeah.
Something that stuck with me that Penny always says is that we all have responsibility towards the work, and that includes all the dancers, but also the musician and the lighting designer. So that plays into, 100% of the time we all have responsibility. So you can't check out and you can't just stand on the side and go in when you feel like it. You listen to what is being produced in the moment, and if it calls for you, then you join.
And also something that Michael said earlier in the semester that I think I've tried to hold with me is that impulse alone is not a legitimate choice. So we're always trying to, compositional choice, so we're always trying to strike a balance between impulse and compositional mind. It's a really difficult, challenging balance, but
Yeah, did that kind of get to it? So it really is that we are an improvising ensemble making work together, and your choice to enter has to do with the work. So if you're a soloist, if you're the first one out, that gives you a certain kind of license. I mean, we never did Susan's World for him, but we will, because you were so cooperative with each other at the beginning, we didn't want to go too far into that. But there's a form developed by my colleague, our colleague Susan Scarvati, where whoever starts a piece, it's their world, and anyone else who comes into the work is developing that world. And that doesn't mean that you're doing the same thing as that person, the original person, but it's some way of starting to generate the thought process about what that could mean. And then that person, whoever it was who started the piece, is the one who calls the end of it. So it's just a way of kind of focusing mind. But impulse we encourage. Go out, go. When you think you need to go, go. And see how that works out for you. And for the piece and whatever. And we have to do it all to get experience. The other little bit of it is that there are those who are more tentative about going out, and we have to raise that. Those artists have to raise up their level of willingness to take that risk. Because one of the things we're training for too is, okay, you go out there, or the ensemble abandons you, and there you are in the space, and are you going to drop it, or are you going to take it solo? And that's scary, it's like, what we're working on is, what do you do? If you go out there, the other thing is, we do a thing called Don't Say No, where you put material into you generate material, and then you figure out what that is. You don't assume you know what it is, because that's a very left-brain way of thinking about it. It's you do something and then you find out how the little toe on your right foot is engaged in that process, and you, as you're learning about what it is, it starts to change and grow, and it's kind of way of dealing with material organically, and also finding your way to material that's unfamiliar. So we have all billion practices for this. Okay, let's do this. Let's, with these things in mind, let's make a series of 2 or 3 short pieces that would be over by 4:05. You're welcome to come and go. I left the doors open so that anyone who needs to go or wants to go can go. So, should we, I kind of like the light. Not get all dramatic. We'll save that for the concert.
Come back.
So a series of 3 short pieces that are over by 4:05, all different, right? Okay, take some risks.